So I'm very happy to be here. Has everyone done this practice already? Is there anyone who's brand new? No one's brand new.
This is my first time here.
Ah, okay. Okay. And your name's Asher? Or?
Asher, yes.
Asher, okay. Nice to meet you. Okay. As long as there's someone who's never done this before, then I'll include a little more explanation to give some context. This practice is...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. This practice is considered a purification practice. In our tradition of Buddhism, perhaps actually all traditions of Buddhism, but in our particular, we have two broad sets of practices. We have things that are called merit-making practices, merit-generating practices. Oh, sorry, that's not the right word. Accumulation practices. And then we have purification practices. The idea is that from the Buddhist worldview, we've engaged in, we want to change our minds. If we use the analogy of a garden, we both want to weed it and we also want to plant good seeds in it. The accumulation practice is planting the good seeds. The weeding part is the purification part. The idea is that, according to Buddha's teachings, the sutras and other teachers, is that we've accumulated habits over a very long period of time. From the Buddhist perspective, it stretches out infinitely. So there's a me yesterday, there's a me before that, a continuity that stretches out infinitely. That same continuity stretches out forward infinitely as well. And we've developed certain habits. These habits are negative in that, are unvirtuous. They're negative, they're unvirtuous in that they ripen by their nature as suffering of some kind. We have karmas that propel us into existences. This is throwing karma. Karmas that shape the environment. So where, literally where we're born and what kind of environment is that? The karmas that cause us to engage in negative behaviors over and over again. And so forth. Why are these problematic? They're problematic only in that they cause us pain, suffering of some kind. And they're problematic in that they delay our ability to help others. So we have our personal pain, and then because we delay helping others, then they experience more pain because we've delayed our ability to help them. So we engage in practices in order to address these negative karmas, actions, these negative karmas, negative actions. How do we do that? We go through a 4-step process. Sometimes I feel like I've heard different orders of these steps, but this is the order that's in this booklet that I only partially go by. So don't feel too obligated. But we have a refuge. That's the first part. The refuge is because we make mistakes in relation to holy beings. And we need to firm up our motivation that we want to be free from personal suffering, but also we want to develop ourselves perfectly, that is, become Buddhas so that we can benefit others perfectly. So we take refuge. We need some source that represents an alternative to what we experience currently that can help us perfect ourselves, that we can rely on. So we have this kind of refuge or reliance. And then we have regret. Regret is probably the most important aspect of this practice. Regret is not guilt. The way we're defining it in this context is that guilt is the voice that says, I've done a negative action and therefore I am an evil person, or I'm a bad person, or I'm not worthy of love, or all the stories we tell ourselves. Regret is just understanding the consequences of an action and wishing we hadn't done it, because we understand the consequences for ourselves and the consequences for others. That's very key. We often, certain cultures slip into guilt much more easily than others. And I don't know if everyone's from the US, but US culture does this pretty easily, probably because of Judeo-Christian roots as part of the dominant culture. Not everyone has that culture, but it pervades because it's dominant. So regret. And here we just think, I wish I hadn't done that, because I know what it will lead to, without the moral judgment after it, just the regret part. Then we do the remedy, and that's the mantra recitation itself, which I do at a fairly fast clip as people are starting to learn. That's the visualization. You visualize Vajrasattva. I don't know if you can see it good. That's Vajrasattva, father and mother. Can you see them? So there's two people. There's like a male principal and a female principal. The male is sitting in lotus position, which means he's underneath. It's like by virtue of his body, or not lotus, Vajra position. And then she's in lotus position, it means she's on top. So you get these symbols of sexual union in a heterosexual context, and it's because they represent wisdom and compassion coming together. In brief, that's not totally the explanation, but that's a good basic information. So that's what they mean by Vajrasattva, father and mother, means those two principles coming together. We do the mantra with the visualization, and then we resolve not to do the action again. And this is where we get some sort of, resolution. It's like New Year's resolution. We're just not going to do this certain thing again. This is where we start to change who we are. So I don't kill ants in my house unnecessarily, because ants just want to have lunch, and they've not done anything wrong. We change. I'm not going to lie to impress people, because it's not helpful. People don't even believe me anyway. Or I'm going to abandon intoxicants or reduce them. It depends on how you take the vow. I'm going to reduce them because they negatively impact my life. I can't concentrate. I mess up on my other vows. I alienate people, all the things that happen with intoxicants. Intoxicants usually refers to alcohol, but you can include other things. It depends on how you take the vow. So you change. The resolution is the change part. So stepping back from Buddhism and coming to a more secular perspective, you have a certain faith that you can change, that this process can work. That's like refuge. Then you recognize what you do that's not working for you anymore. Then you do something to sort of help you change somehow. And then you kind of seal that change, resolve that change. So maybe, for example, you could be like, I go to AA because I believe in the process. I have faith in this process, in this community. If you have alcohol or narcotics, whatever. And the first step is I recognize I have a problem with this. And then I work the steps, right? That's like reciting the mantra. I do something. And then I regularly say, I'm in recovery. I'm going to keep doing this. I resolve to keep doing this. So we can find a lot of parallels. They don't have to all be Buddhist. Okay. I've spoken too much. In the space before you, imagine that the environment is filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who by definition have developed their compassion perfectly or to a very high extent. and have developed their wisdom either perfectly in the case of Buddhas or to a very high extent. And acknowledge to yourself that if I don't change how I am, then I will suffer and others will suffer. But I believe that these beings exist and that I can become like them. And because they've traversed the path before me, then I'll take refuge in them. I trust that they will lead me to where I want to go, which is a state free of all kinds of suffering and imbued with all kinds of happiness, all kinds of happiness. And in particular, I want to be free from the suffering. And I want to have all these kinds of happiness, not just for myself, but for all living beings. And I want that because they've been kind to me at some point, either directly or indirectly. And I wish to repay that kindness. So with that in mind, then I'll chant the prayer. Sangye churan soge chunam no chanchu baru dani gyabzu ji dagi shinso gibe sunam ki jola penju sangye chupa shod. Sangye churan soge chunam no chanchu baru dani gyabzu ji dagi shinso gibe sunam ki jola penju sangye chupa shod. Sangye churan soge chunam lo chanchu boru dani gyabsu chi dagi shinso gipe sonam ki chola penche sangye jupa sho. And then you develop the mind of regret. So I wish I hadn't done that. So I wish I hadn't engaged in killing, stealing, lying, misusing sexuality, intoxicants, like distracting myself or being confused, and all the other things, gossip, divisive speech, harsh speech, malicious thought, covetousness, all these, they're called the 10 non-virtues. I didn't list them in order, and I didn't list all of them, but they exist. I used to think of all these actions that cause, that ripen as suffering for yourself and ripen for suffering for others. You think of the ones that you've done today, the ones in the recent past, and then you imagine all the things that you could have possibly done since beginningless time. And you just assume you've killed people, that you've raped people, that you've stolen, that you've done all kinds of, just assume it. Without the guilt though, just regret it. And then you, if you have a mala or something like that, you can just be like, I regret that, I regret that, I regret that, I regret that, I regret that. You just think that. Imagine that the space surrounding you, seated on cushion, are all living beings who you're guiding in this practice. And then think above the crown of your head, seated upon a lotus and moon seat, are Vajrasattva father and mother. Their bodies are white. Each has one face and two arms. He holds a dorje and bell. She a curved knife and skull cup. They are embracing each other. The father is adorned with 6 mudras, the mother with 5. He sits in the Vajra posture and she in the lotus. Vajrasattva is my root guru, your root guru. Vajrasattva is your root guru, the holy mind of all the Buddhas, Dharmakaya, who would have his or her unbearable compassion, which embraces you and all other sentient beings, appears in this form to purify yourself and all others. So Guru Vajrasattva and Mother are your root guru. If you don't know who that is, you don't have to be, you just do it in general. It's okay if it's just in general. On a moon disk at Vajrasattva's heart stands a hum encircled by a garland of the 100-syllable mantra. A powerful stream of white nectar flows from the hum and mantra garland, and I'm cleansed of all sickness, spirit harm, negative karma, and obscurations. So as you recite the mantra, then you imagine being filled with white nectar. Nectar meaning like essential essence. And you imagine it filling up your body, causing all the muck, to come out of your orifices, like you're getting filled up and you're replacing like muck and dirt with this kind of essential nectar. Okay. Vajrasattva SAMAYA MANUPALAYA Vajrasattva TITHA DENOPHA SUTO SUPO ANURAKTO SARVA PRAYATSA TSAME SHRIYAM BHAGAVAN TATHAGATA VAJRA Mahasmaya Sava Te Vajrasattva SAMAYA MANUPALAYA Vajrasattva DENOPHA Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo, Saratagata Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manubalia. Vajazavadino Batida, Dino Mevoa, Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo. TATHAGATA Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manubalia. Vajrasattva Batida, Jinum Mevoa, Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo. TATHAGATA Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manubalia. Vajrasattva Batida, Jinum Mevoa. Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo. TATHAGATA Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manupalayam. Vajrasattva Batida, Jinum Mevoa, Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo. TATHAGATA Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manupalayam. Vajrasattva Batida, Jinum Mevoa, Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Pavo. TATHAGATA Vajramami Musavajabo, Mastamazava, Deum, Vajazava Samaya, Manupalayam. Vajrasattva Batida, Jinum Mevoa, Sutagayo Mevoa, Subagayo Mevoa, Anurakto Mevoa, Sarasini Mepias, Sarakamat, Sitsame, Sijan, Kuruhum, Bhagavan Zavitagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sinishim Guru Bhagavan Zavitagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Umbi Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubhaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Masmezava Om Vajrasattva Samaya Vajrasavatino Patida Jiname Bhava Sudhagayam Bhava Subhagayam Bhava Anuratam Bhava Sarasini Maybe it's a Sarikame Susame Sidhhi Guru Bhagavan Sarvadagata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrava Mahasmaya Sattva It's the short, that's the long mantra, and then the short mantra. Vajrasattva, 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 Vajrasattva. I'm rushing because I'm running out of time a little bit. From the crown of your head, Guru Vajrasattva says, son or daughter of the race, your negativities, obscurations, broken and damaged pledges have been completely purified. Then think, before Guru Vajrasattva, I vow never again to commit those negative actions from which I can easily abstain, and to not commit for a day, an hour, or at least a few seconds those negative actions from which I find it difficult to abstain. Then imagine a replica of Guru Vajrasattva, the mother descends to the crown of your head and the crowns of the heads of all beings, dissolves into white light, descends to the crown of your head to the kind of third eye area, filling your body with the white light, purifying all your obscurations, negative karmas created by the body. Then descends to the throat, filling the body with red light, purifying negative karmas and obscurations created by speech. Descends to the heart, filling the body with blue light, purifying negative karmas associated with the mind. And imagine all those bodies are filled with white, red, and blue light all at once. Then imagine all those beings, including yourself, are clear as crystal, completely purified. There's no trace of suffering. Every negative trait has been removed, and every positive trait has been completed, has been attained. And because that's true, there's no suffering anywhere in the universe, because all beings have attained the same state. And just for a few seconds, just believe it's true. Okay. So all this activity we've engaged in, all these karmas, right? All these karmas, actions that we've engaged in, go to waste if we don't dedicate them according to tradition. So we give them a bigger purpose. And then if we have a big purpose, then we can always draw from that energy until we've accomplished our goal. So we think of all the activities coming here, being patient with me speeding through, everything it takes to go through a practice like this, and then dedicate in emptiness. There is no I, creator of negative karma. There's no action of creating negative karma. There is no negative karma created. So with your best understanding of emptiness, which may be limited, or maybe it's the first time you've heard this word, you just, the I does not exist intrinsically. The action of creating negative karma doesn't exist intrinsically. The negative karma created doesn't exist intrinsically. Keep that in your mind, and then dedicate due to all the merits of the 3 times collected by me, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all other sentient beings, which appear to be truly real from there, but which are empty. May the I, which appears to be truly real but is empty, achieve Guru Vajrasattva's enlightenment, which appears to be truly real but is empty, and lead all sentient beings who appear to be truly real but are empty, totally empty, to that enlightenment which appears to be real but is empty, but myself alone, which appears to be truly real but is totally empty, non-existent from there. And the precious bodhicitta, the source of all happiness and success for myself and all other sentient beings, be generated within my mind and in the minds of all sentient beings without even a second's delay, and may that which has been generated be increased. May I and all other sentient beings have Lama Tsongkhapa as our direct guru in all our lifetimes, never be separated for even a second from the pure path that is greatly praised by the conquered Buddhas and actualized the complete path, the 3 principal paths and the 2 stages of highest yoga tantra, the root of which is Guru devotion within our minds as quickly as possible. Just as Brave Manjushri and Samanta Vajra realize things as they are, I dedicate all these virtues in the best way that I may follow after them. Whatever dedication the 3-time victorious ones gone to bliss have admired as best, in the same way, I also perfectly dedicate all these roots of virtue so that I may perform good works. So dedication is full of jargon. May you be totally free of suffering, and may you have every kind of happiness. And may you bring all beings to that same state, a state free of every kind of suffering and with every kind of, possessing every kind of happiness. And at the very least, no matter what happens, whether you become Buddhist or not, whether you stay Buddhist or not, whatever happens in your life, at the very least, may you have a kind and warm and gentle heart. Because all this ritual, all this philosophy is for that purpose, is to develop your heart, to make you more gentle, more kind, brave, all the other good qualities. So may you have all those things. Okay, I'm a little over, but thank you very much for tolerating. Thank you very much for tolerating me. And I will see you next week if you want to come.